What's up, guys? Jordan from Bennett's Customs. We are kind of going in reverse a little bit on this video. Our latest video that we've brought out, doing the bucking and making those rear boxing plates for the crossmember. But we didn't actually show installing the crossmember, fixing these rear frame horns, and as well fixing the front part to putting in a little patch in this area where the shock mount had actually ripped it out. So yeah, and as you can see, it's kind of painted, looks factory, or not factory, sorry. Looks, you know, matching the patina, just trying to make it look like it was never done. But yeah, in this video, basically, we're going to show you those, installing the original crossmember into the new rails. And you guys have probably seen that through our previous videos, but basically we had to replace the rear frame sections in order to square everything up for the jig. So it was kind of like a step forward, step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, in order to make sure everything was square and you know, as per the factory kind of dimensions that we were trying to go off of for this frame. So as you can see, the body's on right now, kind of roughly. That's in the next video, and lots more to come, kind of fitting and motor, transmission, rear end, all that fun stuff. Also, just wanted to give a shout out. Craig Baxter was just in this morning, and he actually kind of did a little bit of a clinic with us with his sign writing. Really like his style. He's very, very good at it. And what we actually got him to do was do kind of just, yeah, he just basically freehand this with some chalk, and then he brushed it out, and obviously it says the Roadster build. What this is for is, in this whole build series, we want to make sure that all the thumbnails are relatively similar, so that if you are on there, you can kind of go through and watch each episode and you won't kind of lose them. We just thought, rather than using, you know, a standard font that you could get on there, we want it to be unique, authentic, and original. So what better idea was to get Craig to actually freehand this. We digitized it, and it is now kind of our poster for the back of each thumbnail. So we just want to, you know, just those small details. People will probably never even see it. Other than this video, you'll probably never even know. So it's just something subtle, something cool. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification button so you'll know when we come out accurately every week on, won't tell you a day because we never get a day right. And that's cool too. Maybe that'll be in the next video. A few Canadians, you know what that's all about. Right, so body is off, and we are fixing in the 32 rear cross member. I mentioned before, was thinking about flattening this out. Also thought about putting a Model A one in, because I do have a quick change. But to be honest, I just really want this to have factory 32 specs. I want it to be a high boy, so I want it to be, you know, I know that if I flatten this out, I'm going to lose kind of that height that I kind of think I want to try to achieve, especially with the wheel tire combo I'm going with. So I just have a strap on the frame, a strap on the frame, and that's just kind of helping it, just because obviously there's no attachments in here. The frame's just kind of falling out a little bit. So that's just holding it together against this. What I'm going to do is drill the holes, and I'll just put some 3/8 bolts through for now until I replace them with the rivets. But what I want to do is get this fixed into place before welding these up and adding the fish plates. So right now I'm just going to drill these out, clamp them down, make sure it's all fitted square in place, and then we can start working on this. Okay, so we got the 3 outside ones on each side bolted in. See in there? So now that these are sucked in, I can now do the lower run rather than kind of marking each one and drilling them all out. And we still need to do the 3 that are on top of here. So I'm gonna have to try and use like a, I don't know, I might be able to measure off this onto here if I do like a reference line on this and pull it out, and then I can kind of mark where they are. Otherwise I can just get in underneath down in there with a scribe and just scribe out where the circles are and try and find them that way. So once we get these bolted in, then we can start working on this bit and then come up with a cool idea to do like a fish plate kind of on the inside. Was even thinking maybe something that connects to the cross member and then kind of drops down past and then ends sort of in this area, and maybe kind of have it, you know, like a section inside there that would kind of bolt in. So then we could rivet it in, and then it'd be nice and strong, and it would look like it was kind of meant to be there. So let's get these scrubbed out. One dilemma, don't have a 90 degree drill that I can get inside here to actually drill the upper rivets out. So what I did was I made some reference lines and I scrubbed the frame. So I'm going to square these off, and then I can basically measure all my centers. And then I've done the exact same on here, so I can square these lines off and I can remeasure them on the frame from here to there, and that should allocate exactly where those holes go, hopefully. So what I'm going to try to do now is just measure all this out, and then we'll transfer it onto here. Okay, so that actually worked. So by doing my reference points off the cross member, scrubbing the line off the frame, I was able to measure kind of out each one, and then I just drilled them out and it worked perfect. So I've just kind of beveled the edge just to get rid of that burr, but they line up really well now. So now I can just put 3 bolts in here, but I'm just going to quickly do the other side. I just wanted to make sure it was going to work and I wasn't too far out. This one I was probably just a slight smidge it out. I just had to kind of hit it with the drill, but not enough to, you know, like kind of go, oh shit, that's not gonna work. So it was real tight. These ones lined up perfectly, which was awesome. So everything's still tight, using 3/8 holes at the moment, and then they will be replaced. So let's, we'll scribe this side now, do the same, and then we'll keep going forward. 90 degree off both sides. I think this would work a lot better maybe, like kind of more or less so they match. I am using washers on each side of the bolts too, just to gain a little bit more surface area when clamping everything down. This kind of helps the bolts or the heads not to kind of bite in either. I probably didn't show it, but you know, some measurements from here back to the spreader bar, to some holes, and then the front of it forward to the cross member, to the forward cross member, to a few of the body mount holes, and then just some cross references as well, just making sure it was allocated to the spot it's supposed to be. Okay, so slide this out, crush my string line, just gonna match these lines up. Okay, so first one, I'm kind of eyeballing this too. There's so many different ways. You could put like a punch in there that would have us on center, and I could do it on that as well. But we'll just do it this way. So I'm gonna speed you up and you'll see it. So this is what I've kind of done. I got my line here, and then I just basically put it on center to the hole, go to my reference line there, scribe that, and now I got 1, 2, 3 holes. So I'll center punch these, drill them out, and we can install this. Okay, she is bolted in. Back to factory. Now we can weld this up. I have a nice big piece of copper, about 10 mil thick. I'm gonna put this on the back, clamp it in just to make sure everything stays square. And then we're gonna weld these up, smooth them out so the outside is finished. Then we'll do a pass on the inside. And then we'll figure out how we're gonna fish plate this. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's fitted, it's holding, everything's now square. So now I can weld this confidently. I probably will just still put a piece of square tubing across on the top and bottom here, across after I clamp it as well, just to make sure nothing's gonna wanna move. But yeah, also just kind of wanted to mention, there was a few comments in the previous video about where we cut this, and definitely, you know, this is probably the weakest way to want to do a frame replacement as I've done here. You know, there's probably better ways of doing it. You could kind of run it more, you know, like on an angle that way, and then, you know, your force is a bit different, or vice versa on a 45 degree. Even, you know, like the way a cricket bat's kind of put together, where you kind of have it set up like that. That would work really well. You could kind of do like a 90 degree, and you know, you just have like a really nice kind of pass all the way through. Even kind of rounded. You could do a rounded one as well, something like that, or a nice step, kind of the Z kind of shape like this. That would work really well too. It just definitely makes it a lot more strong and rigid. But I purely just did this because, you know, I just was running with the thought that I had in my mind. And yeah, I've done plenty of these on like multiple different swaps, and you know, I really try and not just do a straight up and down cut. It will work though. Not saying it's not going to. When we fish plate the back of it and finish it all, it'll be happy as. So I'm definitely happy with the way it's going to turn out. So, but yeah, just a bit of food for thought. Maybe probably, you know, I would suggest doing it a little differently, but I'm going to work with what we've done now. So let's set up the TIG welder, get this all clamped into place, and start welding. So you can see I got that copper channel clamped in. Everything's nice and square. I've gone and just done a little pass right on the inside. And then what I'll do is kind of just move around a little bit. I'll probably do the top now, and then we'll get this fully welded up. Unfortunately, I only have 1.6 filler rod. I've ran out of my 2.4, so, but that's all right. I'm just, yeah, working with what I got. I'm still getting really nice heat, kind of like signs on each side of the weld, which is really nice. So I know it's got, getting really good penetration. And then having that backer copper also really helps as well. So let's keep continuing. So you do want to move around a little bit. This will kind of distort. So I'm just going to do the top now, and then I'll kind of work on the edge again. Something like that. Just going to flip this around just a little bit dirty on the end of that. Kind of making my it flutter a little bit. Might just do this bit here and finish that off, and then I'll let it cool down, and then I'll move this down, and then I'll do the bottom side rather than kind of unclamping it while it's warm. I'd like it to cool down while it's still there. So that's all right. Kind of move around a little bit. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just let this cool down a little bit, and then I'll just move these clamps down, and then we can kind of do this backside and underneath. And then this side's done, and we move on to the other side. All right, so we're gonna just weld the bottom half of this. So yeah, one thing you want to do when you're welding as well is just like, yeah, I mentioned it several times, but just get comfy. Yeah, that's better. All right, so we got the weld done. What I need to do is blend it all in so you can't see it. So I'm gonna start that now. I'm using my little air grinder. I had some 36 grits, but I don't know where I've put them. I think I ran out, so I got some 80 grit pads on the end, and then I'll use some 120s, and then I'll hit it with the DA after, just to kind of blend it. And then we'll get the inside done and start to think about some fish plates. All right, so I just need to weld the inside. Gonna pass on this one. Now I need to do that side, and then we can grind it. All right, she's hot today. I think it's like mid-30s, and in the workshop with no fan trying to TIG weld. Oh, no bueno. Anyways, we've got these welded up. Looks pretty nice. Once they're blended in, inside I was able to get a big pass. Just haven't done the upper bit, so I'll wait till the frame is flipped over, and then I'll be able to just weld the inside. So, doesn't look too bad. This side looks all right. I could almost maybe do like another pass just to kind of fill these little bits that you can kind of see. But I'm not too fussed at the moment. I think that looks fine. So now that, you know, that's kind of bolted in, these are welded in, you know, we're next step closer. So now we need to put this guy in the front, but before doing so, I need to fix these problem little areas. So this is obviously where the front shock used to mount to, and obviously it's just torn out on the frame. You can see it on the inside. It's torn and cracked. On this side, this one's actually quite good, and this one's just got a small repair. So we may even be able to, you know, kind of just cut this little area out and just repair a small section there, so we don't have to do too much on that side. But this side, we have two pretty good little areas here, and one of the cracks actually goes to about there, and this one goes to about there. So I'm thinking doing like a little setup like that. So if I can kind of cut this out, and I'll try and do like a nice rounded edge on both sides just to help so we don't have any sharp corners, and then should be able to replicate that onto a piece of 3mm steel, and then we'll stick this in and weld it up, and then we can clean all this area up. We'll quickly rust treat it, and then we can just clean these holes up as well. Get rid of the rust, wire wheel them, clean them up, make them look nice. I'll just make sure everything's nice and flat, and then we can install that cross member in here with our nice 5/16 rivets, which we have right here. So they're really nice, so they will replace those guys, and then we can start getting this thing together.
I was born up in the mountain, raised by an old grizzly bear. I was born up in the mountain, raised by an old grizzly bear. I was fed by Mother Nature, and I breathe fresh, clean, natural air. I rose up with the sunlight and the moon, she called me to sleep. I rose up with the sunlight and the moon, she called me to sleep.
All right, so you can kind of see that, if it focuses. You got a really nice clean edge all the way around. We've kind of chamfered it at a 45 degree all the way around, kind of using the file, the carbide bit, and then just cleaning it up with our little flap discs and our brown roll-off wheel. The brown roll-off wheel, a brand new one, for when you're trying to clean an edge. If you're, trying to do what I'm doing, is trying to leave a bit of the patina or the surface. It just takes it off and doesn't take too much material off, which is really nice. So it cleans it, so I'll be able to TIG weld it still, but it still, like leaves material there. So what I can do now is I'll put my cardboard in behind, trace that out, or I may even just actually cut a piece of steel that fits in behind here, scribe that, saves me having to do it twice, and then I can fill this area up. So let's grab a piece of steel, we'll trim it roughly to fit behind there, clamp it into place, scribe it accurately, and then cut it out. Okay, so I got my little piece cut out, roughly. And what I'm gonna do is stick this in behind, just like that. Clamp this into place. That way we know we got a nice tight gap. And then I'll grab my scribe. So I got my little scribe here. What I'm gonna do is just go around . Now I got it scribed out. I'll just move that piece. I'll put a little arrow with the scribe. And that's up. So now we got our piece on there. So I'll just roughly cut that out and get it as close as I can. We'll pop this in, tack it in, and we'll be good to go. So that's nice and definitely nice and smooth, which is great. You can also just take like a straight edge. Nothing worse than kind of having a bit of unevenness on the face of your bit. So you can see there, that's really, really nice. So hopefully it'll stay like that. It'll distort a little bit, but should be okay. What I can do to help, may just stick that nice piece of copper in behind there. That piece there. And that's just gonna help with just kind of absorbing a bit of the heat, which will be nice. It's nice and flat too, which is great. Put it on this side here. So that just kind of allows us to have quite a nice backing, you know, and so the weld on the backside will actually be quite nice. Probably lift this up just a little bit, make sure she's right on there. So now what I'll do is just tack this in a few more places, make sure it's nice and clean, and then we'll be able to do a pass. So we got it welded in. Still got that nice piece of copper on the back that's just dissipating a bit of the heat. What I'm gonna do now, put my respirator on, my ear protection, my eye protection, and grab a few bits, and we're gonna just blend this in. So I'm just gonna use my little air grinder with a couple of 75 mil discs on it. Unfortunately, still don't have that 36 grit, but I'm just using some 80 grit ones. Got a little tub of them here. So that'll do the job. A flat disc on a grinder works just as well too. Sometimes I would believe that this, if you aren't putting so much pressure on it, it doesn't like warp the steel as much or put as much heat into it. Mainly more for thinner panels. So you probably wouldn't be using the big grinder and flat disc anyways for that, but so same thing I did on the outside, we've done on the inside. Nice pass. We got that copper piece on here, and that really helps to just keep everything straight and dissipate that heat. You know, this really absorbs it. So nice and straight, helps out. Should come out really nice. So here I've just welded a couple areas that there was just kind of like a bit of like where it kind of pulls the material. So it's a little bit under, and we've just filled those up. So that there is basically finished. So it looks really nice. It's super smooth. There was no distortion, which was really good. The inside, you can see that's welded in. I'll finish that later, but for now, what we're going to try to achieve is to get these all cleaned up, and we can try and get that cross member hot riveted into place, which is going to be a tricky one. So I need to quickly wire wheel all this, And I'll rust treat and seal all that before we stick the cross member in, and then we can come up with a plan. All right, so I got my wire wheel on the grinder, and I'm just gonna clean up all those inside bits, and then we can rust treat those. And rust treat those and then get the cross member fitted in.
Got the feeling in your bones, make you feel right at home. Honey, does it well, keep me dancing till I'm dead. 'Cause I could run a mile like this, head over heels, feels like bliss.
Nice, so those are all nice and clean now. I don't want to disturb the patina too much, but I definitely want to make sure these are clean in behind. So we're going to grab the rust converter now. I am just using this Galmet. It's a rust converter and sealer, and you can apply it directly to rusty surfaces. It just kills the rust and just puts like a nice seal on it that you can then kind of put an etch prime over top of. I think I got a little bit left in here. I just use a red Scotch-Brite or a paintbrush to apply it to certain areas if I want to wipe it off or not. But basically you just put this stuff on right over top. I kind of like using a Scotchy because you can kind of like almost rub a bit of it off, like where the rust would be. Once it's on there, give it kind of a bit of a, you can let it sit a bit longer and it will start to turn it black, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have used all different types, but this stuff works awesome. This is actually what the entire the Roadster will be applied in, and I'll show you that in a sec too, just so you can see it. But like the whole frame's actually already been done. So it like blackens it, really shows a lot of depth, kind of almost brings out the detail. Like this bit's not done, but that is. I'll probably just end up doing that to the entire body, which I already have kind of done half of. And I'm just gonna leave that, and I'll just have to apply it kind of every 3 or 4 months. You know, you can use boiled linseed oil. There's actual full products that are designed specifically for the application. Down the road, if I decide to make it really nice and shiny and do all the nice body work and paint work and interior and all the rest, then yeah, I'll decide that. But for now, I just want to make a nice old looking hot rod. Just let it sit. Once it starts to go black, you know it's starting to convert it, and you can kind of wipe the excess off, and it will kind of convert it all. So you can already see like what that's done. Like it's fully sealed it. So that definitely worked though, like in areas where, let me just tap the screen so I can see what you're saying. You know, that's the actual product, but where it's black right there, that's actually, you know, was a bit of surface rust that's now been converted. So I want to just do the insides. The cool thing when I use the Scotchy, I almost feel like it just kind of takes off a bit of that like surface bite, you know, like just that little bit of fur or kind of that texture that you can feel. It kind of almost smooths it out slightly. But this thing is almost ready, which I'm very excited. So what I'm gonna do is just let this dry for 10 minutes, and then we'll stick this bad boy in there. Start to line it up, re-bolt it in, and then we'll get the rivets set up.
Sun has got me on my track, I ain't ever looking back. I ain't looking back. I ain't looking back. I ain't looking back. I ain't looking back.
And we will see you next week on another episode.